إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل كما جاء في محكم التنزيل. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Brothers and sisters, we can never overemphasize the need to begin everything we do remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praising Him. We are living in praise and gratitude when we recognize that our life and everything in it is simply part of His mercy. And that we have really done nothing to exist, and we have really done nothing to deserve so much that we are blessed with. So the natural response is to seek Him, to remember Him, to look for Him in His revelation, to look for Him and the effects of His beauty and amazing craft in His creation. It's crucial for us to look into the prophethood and to look into the message that was revealed to them and to be affected by it. Not to just believe in it, to become someone as a result of knowing it. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I was, over the last few days, in a retreat in the mountain with 5 imams and 5 evangelical pastors, part of the My Neighbor's Keeper movement, in which we will try to understand each other's faith traditions, come to appreciate and respect each other's differences, and to come to see what kind of moral overlap that we can cooperate on so that we can do something about the corruption of society as a unified voice of revealed morality. And part of that retreat was to sit and listen to testimonials of faith and background and experience. And you have to tell the truth when truth is known. When I'm listening to these pastors talk about how they and many in their community travel the world and they sacrifice a very comfortable living here, and they go with their money that they raised and they live for long periods of time in the developing world where you guys, many of you have left, escaping all of the poverty and corruption and oppression and so forth. They actually spend a lot of time going there in order to feed and comfort and build schools and hospitals and to try to preach their understanding of the Word of God to those people. So, and that affects those people. Many people have converted to Christianity just because what these people have done for them. See, now you can try to allow your, self-defense mechanism to kick in and say, well, those are disbelievers and they're on the wrong path, and so who cares? Well, some people did care, and many of them used to be Muslim. So it's very important for us to take a look at who we are and what we're about. So they spoke of this calling. We have a calling. We learned it through scripture, we prayed, and then we found ourselves called to this. Now the truth is, because I'm a student of the Bible, before I was ever knowing the Quran, and the Quran emphasizes all of these things. The calling of Allah in the Quran is at least as much, if not more, than the Bible in being concerned for the welfare and caring for the best interests of people, specifically that of the poor and the orphans and the oppressed. Almost no page of the Quran goes by without mentioning that. So as we go through the Quran, we see this huge emphasis that faith by itself is not sufficient. It has to have amalus salih, working righteousness. They go hand in hand. In Surah Al-An'am, where God is talking about righteousness and guidance, He says, وَهَذَا صِرَاطُ رَبِّكَ مُسْتَقِيمًا قَدْ فَصَّلْنَا الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَذَّكَّرُونَ لهم دار السلام عند ربهم وهو وليهم بما كانوا يعملون. Well, this basically describes our reality. He says, and this is the path of your Lord that is straight and clear. And surely we in the royal we have clarified to you the signs of truth for those who would take a lesson. يَذَّكَّرُونَ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. We talked about it last week. Then he says, and as for those who walked on that path, they will have the abode of peace, the land of peace, of eternal bliss with their Lord. And He is their guardian supporter as a result of and on account of what they used to work of righteousness. So if you are saying I'm a believer and you are not known for righteous action that benefits the world and alleviates poverty, corruption and evil, then you have misunderstood the religion. We are called to make the world a better place, and the Quran is a very definitive, beautiful truth of divine word preserved. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا. Indeed, this recitation of divine truth, this Quran, it guides to that which is more upright. Aqwam, yaqumu, to stand up, to do things, to take care of things. The pathway is clear and better than all other pathways. And it gives glad tidings, those who follow that. To those who work righteousness, that they will have a great reward. Islam teaches that actions that bring goodness to others are better than actions that benefit yourself. But yet most of the ummah has this one mixed up. Many people spend lots of time trying to recite Quran, lots of it, fast, without even understanding any of it. Trying to play how many prayers, how many rak'ahs can we get in? More rak'ahs. And then yet, many of these people, you will see them, what are they doing for the world? What have they produced? What is their contribution of the rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jal to the world? That is the proof of said closeness to Allah. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, when you die, your deeds are done, except those which benefited others, and they continue to benefit others. Those are more important. Those are more valuable. If you leave some perpetual benefit, you give charity to something that is benefiting people. An orphanage, a library, whatever it may be, a well, sadaqah jariyah, a mosque where people learn and grow and develop, whatever it may be. Lasting charity. Knowledge that is benefited from. Any knowledge that will add value to people's life, religious or otherwise, you will keep getting hasanat written for you after you're dead, as long as people are learning and benefiting from that. And if you look in the great golden era of our history, which spanned a good 7-8 centuries, you will see this emphasis. And then you will see in the last 3 centuries, particularly the last century, a vast downfall of this thought process. And then he said, a righteous child that you leave who will pray for you. If he's not too righteous or she's not too righteous, probably she's not going to pray too much, or she'll forget about you, because lack of righteousness means selfishness, if you get the point of what we're talking about today. If you're about yourself, you want for you. How much money, how much things, how much stuff, how much likes, how much popularity, how much acceptance I can get. It's a selfish thing. And so Allah is Rahman, selfless, benevolent, beneficent. So the Prophet ﷺ said, the most beloved, people said, who's most beloved to Allah? أحب الناس إلى الله أنفعهم للناس. Most beloved to Allah is those that are more beneficial to other people. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, for me to go out and help my brother in something he asked me that he needs a favor for is more beloved to me, this authentic hadith, than making a whole month of i'tikaf in the mosque. So you see the way we have looked at things? Most people talk about religion, you say he's religious or she's religious. How do you think of that in your mind? What are the qualities you think of? You think of the first half, but you don't think of the second half. So the Prophet ﷺ said, indeed bad character can ruin the value of a good deed like putting vinegar in honey. I was once talking with someone about the concept of da'wah, to communicate the religion, convey the religion to people, to proselytize. And he said, you know what, Imam? Actually, he wasn't Muslim, so I don't think he was Imam. You know what, John? He said, at the end of the day, most people, they're not looking to be convinced of some philosophical religious truth if they're going to convert. Most educated people, he said. Actually, they want to look at the state of the one who's communicating the belief or the said way of being. And if that person is a good person with good character, good manners, that they notice is doing good for the world, and that they feel joy out of doing good for others, then the person will want to follow that path. Because it will mean something. This is true with our kids just as much as it is with our neighbors and colleagues. Wallahi, I can tell you, we treat many of us, and I'm not completely innocent of this myself, we treat our house as though it's like a dictatorship. And the enforcement of ideas and beliefs and practices is forceful. You must do. You must say. And the anger and the harshness. And then you're trying to tell them religion is about rahmah. And this is my religion. You will lose that person if you go that way. So the Prophet ﷺ, we looked at him and he was very close to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He prayed more than anybody. He read Quran more than anybody. He understood the Quran better than anybody. He fasted more than anybody. But we saw that translated into his action. Uthman bin Affan said, the Prophet ﷺ, everything he commanded us to do, we saw him doing it before us, and he did it more than us. So when Aisha said, the Prophet, somebody asked her, what about the Prophet? How can you describe him? His character, the way he acted, was all based in the Quran. She's telling us, it'll be hard to memorize all the hadiths, or to read all of them. That's a lot of information. But if you just read 600 pages and really soak it in, for the purpose of taking a lesson to live by, not for the purpose of attaining hasanat, or being a good Muslim, just in general, that's why I read it, but for the purpose of becoming a great benefit to the world, because of my closest friend, then it will give its fruition. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, unzil al-Quran liyu'mala bih. The Quran was revealed so that it would be acted upon. And then he said, so study it. Tadabbaru ayatih. So study it with the thought of consequences, as we talked about last week. So that you would see how the Quran affects the world, how it changes you in your daily interaction with people. If you're reading the Quran and nothing came to you about, what does this mean to me in my life? As a parent, as a child, as a student, as a business person, as a whatever. If it's not affecting you in that way, then there is a disconnect. If you're like, alhamdulillah, I'm close with Allah, and you are not close to the service and the benefit of the world by the work that you do, then there is a misunderstanding in what that means. The companions, radiallahu anhum, they were deeply affected by the Surah Al-Zalzala. the famous surah about when the earthquake comes in the day of judgment and the earth is trembling, and then it brings out all of what happened. At the end of that ayah, at the end of that surah, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ. Whenever Abu Bakr heard this, he was crying profusely. Tears are coming down. Why? Now everyone in this room knows Abu Bakr's work and piety and righteousness is above and beyond all of us put together here. But his beginning trait of humility and a concern for his soul and a feeling that he could be doing more led him to be deeply concerned that if I did this much of evil or bad, I will see it on the Day of Judgment. He was crying. What are we crying for? A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he complained, I have a hard time memorizing the Quran. I don't have strong ability to learn these things, but I'm a believer. So could you just give me some comprehensive teaching from the Quran? And the Prophet ﷺ recited Surah Al-Zalzala. He said, right now, I've memorized these last two ayahs. I memorized them now. And that is enough for me. He just said, these two ayahs, as for whoever would do an atom's weight of goodness, then they will see it on the Day of Judgment in their value, in their soul. And whoever did an atom's weight, just the smallest amount of bad, they will see that on the Day of Judgment. So then the Prophet ﷺ, he was elated to say, kaffata, these two ayahs will suffice him. And then he said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ, this man has succeeded. And so Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he has narrated a hadith that many scholars have said is Hasan, including Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the great scholar of hadith. Surah Al-Zalzala ta'dilu nisf al-Quran. This surah equals half of the Quran. The work you do and the impact you have as a result of your faith and knowledge of the Quran. Imam al-Kafawi, he said that Amal Salih, the righteous deed, is based on a good understanding of the Quran and the life of the Prophet ﷺ. So we have to read and study for the purpose of living accordingly. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In summary, we are called to work. We are workers. Our job is to work for God. He created everything, and then He called out to His creation, who among you will accept to be consciously responsible for your role in my creation? A being known as us said, I got it, I can handle it. So that is why we are all consciously living in this world, very much aware of good and evil, of benefit versus harm, and we have been given and blessed with a detailed scriptural basis to know that. We will be resurrected after we die, and we will be judged accordingly. So we are in a competition of work. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Compete with people in doing good. As deep as studying the Quran and its commentaries, as deep as praying all of my 5 prayers and keeping up with some sunnah regimen, as deep as finding anyone I can feed or give comfort to, stopping to change a tire, whatever it may be. But it's also simple things. I'll give you some examples. If you are driving into a parking lot and you know that everybody else is coming to the same parking lot. You would park in a way that gives everyone else room to park. You would not just randomly park in some way. Because now you are offending someone else. Say, for example, you come in and you eat somewhere, and they don't have people that are officially, like paid just to clean up. Somebody who's doing something else has to come clean up. You clean up after yourself. You have to always be on the lookout how what I'm saying and what I'm doing or what I'm not doing is affecting other people around me. A conscious worker. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Do not belittle goodness in the least bit, even if it's just something small. This is the prophetic model. Alayhi salatu wassalam. So let's make sure we leave here, and throughout our week, we are consciously working for Allah. We know the benevolent, beneficent, compassionate, loving, merciful source of our existence, where our soul came from, and we feel tied into Him. And when we pray to Him, we are reminded in our daily salawat of who it is that we serve. And that's why it makes it easier for us, if indeed we are praying correctly and understanding what we're doing when we're praying. Then we will be centered and refocused back to that service of the one who gave us our life. So ask Allah, Ya Allah, we ask you to wake up our hearts and our minds for your service. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us among those who seek beneficial knowledge and translate that into action. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us among those who hear a good word and live accordingly. Ya Allah, we ask you to raise among us children who will live according to your will. Ya Allah, help us to defeat the devil and all of his allies and the evils that they spread. Protect us from their evil corruption. Do not allow us to be one who learned and studied the Quran and act in an evil or corrupt or harmful way. Do not allow us to be hypocrites. Do not allow us to be arrogant. Do not allow us to be ignorant and foolish. Make us among those who have wisdom and our character reflects compassionate generosity and a concern for the well-being of others. Ya Allah, remove the afflictions and corruptions and the evil of the world by the light of your guidance that came in our eyes and our ears and came out in our words and deeds. Ya Allah, forgive us. We are sinners. We are weak. We have many shortcomings. We are flawed. We need you to strengthen us, to fill in our gaps, and to bring us together to do your work as you have intended. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi.